Chris here with the most advanced robot vacuum that I have tested to date. It's from Roborock. It is their S7 MaxV. Why is it so advanced? Well, it has reactive AI, Roborock calls it, and it's combining structured light, 3D scanning, and an RGB camera that gives us obstacle avoidance. Things that are very common for these vacuums, like USB cables, are a danger. They get sucked up into it and, well, it stops cleaning. Well, this will avoid it completely. Things like socks, shoes, it can detect different surfaces as well. So it is very smart. Now it has LiDAR scanning, and the suction performance compared to the previous generation, the S6 MaxV, has improved. It's over double now the suction power with 5,100 PA. Now it does have a very interesting mopping system on this. It's sonic mopping. So it has 3,000 vibrations per minute, applying pressure to the ground and basically scrubbing it. But not only that, when it detects carpet, it can lift up the mop, get it out of the way completely, so you don't have to worry about it dragging a mop over the top of some nice mats or your carpet, because it won't be doing that at all. You can also have a voice chat, well, video conversations with the camera that's there. You can connect up to it over the app, and I will show you the application in detail, all of its features. You can customize each room, set up no-go zones, and multi-level floor support too as well, up to 4 levels. I'll be testing it out, and I'll show you this model in depth, why it is so advanced. And just to point out that this video here is sponsored by Roborock. Then inside the box you'll find the power cable. We have this plastic that goes underneath where the dock is for charging it, and the idea is that if the mop is wet, it'll be sitting on top of this and not on top of, for example, your wooden floor. We have the mop right here, so this is a microfiber cloth. Now using their Vibra Rise, they call it, this does vibrate 3,000 times a minute to actually scrub the floors. And here we have some paperwork. Now just inside this, it's got details there of how to connect up, get the application, and there is a user manual right here and some other paperwork. Then our S7 MaxV and the charging dock. We've got the 2 charging contacts, they're suspended, and there are these little brushes there that clean it. There's an infrared sensor in here so it knows when it's getting close. It's nice and small and compact with a status LED on the top. The underside of the vacuum, you'll see, is different here because we've got this 100% rubber main brush now. There's no more bristles, and it's a floating brush, so it's fully suspended. That it then adapts to the different surfaces, the different levels and floors, which is very good. Now the performance of this is now 5,100 PA. That's over double of the S6 MaxV. And you'll see here that with this little bit of metal here, now this is where it's going to vibrate with this sonic mopping. And there's a little tiny nozzle there for the water. The water tank is located here in the back, which you can simply lift out. And I'll just show you how the mop connects. That simply just connects into place like so. And around the outside, we have the typical downward firing sensors, the side brush, the 2 charging contact points, and the front wheel that's 360 degree, and it's easy enough to remove that for cleaning later on. Up the top of the vacuum, we do have the typical sensor here for if it bumps into anything. 3 buttons, so home, power, and our spot clean status LED. The plastic's used along the top here, very nice. This is a matte plastic, and we do have the LiDAR mapping here at the top. So when you lift this up to gain access to the dustbin, removing it, quite easy, and this dustbin capacity is 400 milliliters. Now in order to empty it, if you don't have the dock, you get it with the S7 MaxV Ultra or the Plus models, but this is just the standalone vacuum, so you do need to open it like so, remove the filter, and then you can tip that upside down and empty it out. Now the filter, this is washable. This is a very advanced vacuum, in fact the most advanced that I've covered yet. So along with that 360 degree LiDAR mapping, it has what Roborock calls their reactive AI 2 obstacle avoidance. So it uses 2 cameras. We've got an RGB camera, then a 3D structured light camera, and it has an image processor which is an MPU unit. And with that, it is able to detect things like footwear rolled up, socks, scales on the floor in the bathroom, USB cables, that's a common one to get stuck in these. And then it can even detect sofas, beds, dining room, table sets, and even a living room or a bedroom. It's able to identify that, and it does have ultrasonic carpet detection. And our application. So you need to create an account with Roborock. It's on iOS or Android. What I'm currently using right now is, of course, the Android version with the Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra. And here you see that it's a straightforward menu here to start with. We can see the current status. So if it was charging, it would tell you that. Current is cleaning, remaining battery, and then a few quick options here. So because it's already in action, it's not showing everything. But I just wanted to show you that we've got our profile. So this is an account that you do need to create. Device sharing, you've got firmware updates and quite a few things there. Notifications, they will come through. So if it does have a notification, it can send that through to you. If it gets stuck, for example, it will tell you that. Not that it's going to really with the AI avoidance. It shouldn't really happen with this particular model. So when you jump into it, it will show you the map and you can save up to 4 maps, so multi-story mode, which is great if you've got a basement and 4 different levels there. The map can also be viewed in 2D, which it is by default, or you can put it into the 3D mode, which gives you another perspective of where it's cleaning and how it maps out. So you can do a full clean. You can do rooms, zones. You can set up no-go zones as well too, no mopping zones, boundaries, virtual boundaries, all of that is possible. And then you can adjust the cleaning performance here. So you can set it up to be both vacuuming and mopping, which I'm currently doing. The suction power goes right up to a maximum of 5,100 PA. And then we go over to an intense scrub, which will be a lot better. So that's great for areas that are more dirty, for example, like the kitchen, dining room area, where you might have a tiled floor or whatever. So you're able to adjust all of that. So you can get it to just mop if you don't want it to vacuum or only vacuum, and customize mode. So that's where you can go and set up how you want it to be set, to be either one area to be just mopping more intense, another area not so intense. That's all possible with it. You can send it back to dock, and you can even do this, which is jump into the camera, of course. So it's got that RGB camera, and I can see exactly where it is right now. I can control it with the remote control, and I have here a map too. You can see where it is, the position in the map, and you've got the option to also place calls, which is good. Because it's got the built-in microphone and the loudspeaker, you can have a conversation with whoever's around there at the time, or maybe you've got a dog that's there that's getting up to mischief. You can tell them to stop doing that and even talk to them. So in the settings, there are a lot of things under these options, and I won't go over all of them, but I'll just briefly show you. So with the reactive AI obstacle avoidance, there's various different modes that you're able to set in there, and lots of things, even pet. Okay, so if you've got pets, I've put that on because I do have a cat, Vera, that mostly lives in the house nowadays. And you've got the remote viewing. You can disable that if you don't want it. So you have to hardware enable it first with the buttons, which is good. No one can just turn this on. You have to physically be there to turn it on. For people that are worried about security, it shouldn't be a problem at all with it. And we've got other areas. So managing the different maps, you can manage them all there. You do have settings for the robot, of course. There's quite a few in there. I won't go through all of them. Scheduled mode, do not disturb mode. And you've got options for the voice. Carpet settings, so you can get it to, for example, where there are some carpets there, to rise, lift up, and then mop on there, which is very good. And you've got the carpet boost mode too, which will increase the performance. That's pretty standard. Just like all these other things now there, the schedule, remote control, cleaning history, maintenance of the brush, tells you when it needs to be changed or you need to clean it, or the filter as well. That's all there. And as mentioned before, well, we've got firmware updates, and I am on the latest firmware at the time of this video. Now the stuff you really want to know is just how well does it clean. So it plans out, of course, with the scanning, the 3D structured light scanning and the LiDAR, the rooms exactly how they are. It goes around the outside normally first, and then zigzags across. Pretty standard, so it can get in around furniture, it avoids certain obstacles, and can even detect things like furniture. It will pick it up and display that in the app. It will detect a table and the dining room chairs, for example, and it knows that, okay, that is the dining room. So quite clever there. It goes under beds, and it's not actually that loud, considering that it can get up to the 5,100 PA. I didn't really find it to be any worse than other vacuums that only have 2,000 or even 3,000 PA. So they've done an excellent job on just controlling how loud it really is. And here's a quick sample too of what you can expect out of this when it's in action, when it detects, for example, carpets, and the auto suction boost mode kicks in to that maximum 5,100 PA. And then the feature that I really wanted to test out myself is their obstacle avoidance, which they call reactive AI. And it's also using light, structure, 3D mapping too with it, and the camera at the front. So it's an RGB camera, and it does even have an LED spotlight, headlight on the front of it too. Now my test was very common household objects. So USB cables, they are the worst. They get tangled up in the main brush. I'm sure it's happened to many of us out there. Any cable, but it will be able to detect it. A shoe and a sock, and it did that. It detected them very quickly thanks to its neural processing unit on this. It didn't take long at all to see that, okay, that's a USB cable, go around it, don't go over it. The shoe it saw, and the sock as well, and it was all labeled correctly in the application. You can see with the little icons over the obstacle that it detected. So that was brilliant that it was able to do that, and all three of them. I expected maybe it would have gone over the sock, might not have picked up on it, but no, it did it just fine. So the other interesting feature, especially for me, is the mopping performance on this. So it has sonic mopping with their Vibra Rise, they call it, and that is because the mop will actually rise up, get out of the way, and if you've got short pile carpets that aren't over 4 millimeters, it's going to be perfect for that. It gets it out of the way, so it's not going to be dragged over the carpet. And because it's scrubbing the floor with the 3000 vibrations per minute, I did find it did an excellent job with the hard floors. And my test was to set some coffee. I spilled some coffee on the floor intentionally for the vacuum to clean, let it dry for about an hour and a half, and it did a good job. First pass, as you can see, it went over it and got almost all of it. It just left behind a tiny little trace there. So if it was an area like a kitchen, I would get it to mop that area twice, which you can of course customize with the application, and then it should get absolutely everything. Then you see the results of the mop too. It got very dirty, so it's picking up a lot of muck there, and it's certainly better than previous generations that would just simply drag the microfiber cloths behind them. This is actually applying pressure and scrubbing. And what about mats and carpets? So it can detect them, of course, and that increases the suction performance then up to the maximum 5100 PA. And my test here, I laid down just some typical kind of muck that you'll get inside a household. So some cat fur, some hair, some cereal, some other dirt and grime and things. And it did a very good job going over that mat. It just left behind a couple of little pieces there. And if you did a second go over mats like that, it would certainly get everything there again. So all up, I'm really impressed with the cleaning performance, especially that AI obstacle avoidance. I think it's fantastic the way they can just avoid things like that. And especially if you've got, imagine, dogs in your house that now and then they occasionally leave their business on the ground. It will go around it, not over it, not smear it everywhere, which is not what you want, of course. And then the mopping performance, because it's scrubbing the ground as it goes along, and it does an excellent job of hard floors. I've found the floors have not looked this good for a long time there. So thank you so much for watching my video here on the Roborock S7 MaxV.